What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to provide you guys with a very important trading lesson on Tesla. Talk about something very important when it comes to getting losses and how it relates to trading psychology, and break down something very important that could have been learned based off Tesla's current price action. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And don't forget to smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, when it comes to Tesla, I just wanted to talk about something very important that happened on Friday as we got this move of manipulation. We got this little fake out that happened and a big trap for lots of retail investors, which led to something completely different. And then as time went on, I think that this is not only a big lesson for trading as a whole, but also a big lesson for the psychological aspect of it, because I'm going to break down something very important. So let's talk about this. What happened to Tesla? Let's go back in time. I'm going to use our replay tool right here. I'm going to go back to like right here on Thursday. So just like this, I think would work really well. And then this is what the chart looked like on Thursday, right? So as you guys could see, many people may be worried that, wait, Tesla has a possible like left shoulder here, right? We had this head up here, our right shoulder was forming. And then as time went on, right, the next candlesticks came, we entered our pre-market. Tesla was already showing some weakness, right? That's the big thing about Tesla, was showing a lot of weakness relative to the market. I also think that this is when the market opened already. This is like kind of delayed. So this little highlighted area should actually end like right here. I think the market already opened here. Basically, Tesla was showing a lot of weakness. It came down right here. We saw it like hovering around 198. This is after the market opened already, and it was down here, right? So the reason, and by the way, guys, the reason why this is like highlighted is because this is for the entire hour at 9 o'clock a.m. So in the first 30 minutes, Tesla already got these little drops. It's still included in this because I'm using the hourly chart, but the market already opened and Tesla already starting to drop like this. So a lot of retail investors probably saw this and saw, hey, wait a minute, we have a left shoulder here, we have this head, right? We have a right shoulder forming. And then they started shorting Tesla. And with all the shorting that was going on, you have to remember that Tesla was moving a little bit different from SPY. It also tends to be a late runner sometimes. SPY was pumping. Remember, SPY was pumping at this time. The QQQ was pumping. And a lot of people were probably trying to short Tesla. We saw a big increase in the short interest. We also saw a lot of shorting on SPY with a very high puts to call ratio at 4.13. Same thing on Tesla. Lots of shorting was going on. And then what happened was new pieces of news came out. There happened to be like a bullish piece of news, and that completely changed everything. So looking through the hours, look how Tesla dropped like this. They wanted everyone to think Tesla was going to collapse, lose our support at 198 and start tanking. And people started shorting. They got very excited. They thought Tesla was about to crash. This looked like a triple top formation. Tesla was going to come all the way down to like 195, these low levels, right? That was one possibility. So if someone were to short here, they would also have their stop losses set depending on where they entered. I don't know if they would enter down here. Most people would try to enter like near the wick right here. So the stop would be a little bit higher, like closer to this, maybe a little bit higher than like 202. But it really depends on the person and also their timing. But people started to short Tesla and they had their stop a little bit higher. And then when we go a little forward, Tesla was looking weak. And then all of a sudden, we got this little pump and then it started pumping. So we got some good news that came out. Good news came out. Basically, Tesla was increasing the prices of their Model Y after their discount period expired, and the share price started to soar. Now, what could have happened is this news was already known, but they used this as a reason to pump Tesla. And then they pumped it because people were shorting down here, and their stops probably got triggered. And then, Tesla started pushing. We basically got very close to 205, a little bit under, but it wasn't bad whatsoever. And this is how we ended up closing. So, but the point I'm trying to make is that there is a lot of manipulation in the markets. We're all being watched. They know what our stops are, and they're doing what's best for them to win. Essentially, that's the first thing you have to remember. Secondly, whenever you take a trade, no matter how good you are, no matter how many good days you had in a row, whether it's 100 or 5, it doesn't matter. Every trade is a new trade, and you have to be prepared to lose money on every single trade. Every trade you make, you have to be prepared to fail. Always remember that trading has its risks. So even if we had a very, very solid setup, sometimes they don't play out because of some news catalyst or something like that. and things like that can happen. So it is just a part of the game. So with that happening, the first thing you have to remember is risk management, right? You want to be setting your stops to save you in case something like that happens. Typically, head and shoulders like structures do play out, but sometimes you do see days like this. That's the first thing to remember. Secondly, when you take a loss, because I know a lot of people lost money on Tesla because of that move, I want to make it clear that losses are a part of trading. It's okay to have losses, but you could still be very profitable even if you lose a little bit more than you win, right? If you lose two times for every one time you're right, you could still be a very profitable trader if you only lose 10% per loss, but you make 30% per win, right? You could still be a very profitable trader if you play the games right and you look at the numbers. Don't focus as much on the numbers. Don't worry about, am I making 1,000 a day, 10,000 a day? Don't worry about that. Focus more on percentages. Am I making a nice, percentage gain? Am I making 20% or so like that? Always remember that. So going back to the chart, when we experience losses, when we end up taking like a lot of hits and there are issues that happen, always remember that losses do not define you. There's more to life than money. Money is important. Never trivialize that. Money is pivotal for our lives. Money puts bread on the table. Money pays for your shoes and everything like that. Money is important. Okay. Throughout history, that people are oftentimes taught that being rich is not good. You know, being too greedy is this and that. Money is important. Never forget that. It pays for everything around you. It's key. And it's a very important part of our survival and our lives moving forward. But it's not everything in your life. It does not mean that just because you lose money, you have to become way too depressed. And having this notion kind of like tells you that, look, you have another day ahead of you and you could still make a comeback. So when you take losses, you're going to go through a big psychological effect, especially when you have big losses. What I would recommend is review your mistake, and also find some kind of like coping mechanism, whether it's going out for a walk. I like to go out for walks at certain parks or by large bodies of waters, by the beach or something like that. When I take losses, I like to do that. That's something that benefits me. Maybe for you, you have a different perspective. Maybe you have a dog, you want to take that out for a walk. Maybe you want to eat something, but be careful with those sweets, guys. Those, eating sweets or like a ton of sweets after you take a loss is not always the best for your health, but you know what I'm saying? Find something that can help you, right? And I find that to be very beneficial because when you have these losses, it could really impact different aspects of your life. It could impact, the way you feel. It could impact your body language. So much of this is psychological. So when you have these losses, find something to kind of like clear your head with. Maybe go for a walk, go for a drive, skateboard, whatever you want to do. Try to find time to do that if you can, and then don't let this really stop you, because when you have losses, one of the best things to do is review and then scale down the next day. So after I take a loss, what I would likely do is just kind of review what I did wrong, then scale down. If I'm using $1,000 for trading just in a day, hypothetically, right? And this is what like a lot of retail investors could do. That's like a realistic number. uh, Instead of using $1,000 per trade, which is insane, you could blow your entire portfolio. But if you only use about $200 per trade, and you're going to use a maximum of 1,000, and this is going to be for a portfolio that's worth like 10,000, 15,000, for example, you manage risks well on a daily basis. And even if you take a loss, you could start risking less money. Maybe instead of 200 per trade, you only use 100, scale down a little bit, look back at the trade, review the entry, and just try to look into what went wrong. And then always know that when you have a strategy, it may not always work. It may work really well in bull markets, maybe not as well during, a period of just like chop. It happens. So always remember that losses are a part of the game, and to improve from them, find a coping mechanism, and then learn to improve by looking back at what went wrong, and then always remembering that, retail investors are just always being watched. It's all just part of the game. So that being said, I mean, no matter how experienced you are, this is going to be a part of trading, and you have to learn to accept it, and you have to learn how to basically defend your position. Because when you day trade, you're playing a video game in a way. That's like the way I like to think about it. And in this video game, your money is your number one resource. Okay, you want to protect your money. You don't want to risk too much of it. You want to use small chunks of it during trades. You want to be very careful with it, and you don't want to, risk too much You want to manage the risks very, very well. That's the best thing I could really tell you. So it's like we're playing a video game. Your goal is to get as much money as possible and grow it, but you don't have to become a millionaire overnight. You don't have to make $10 million overnight. You could slowly win. Slowly winning is the way, through discipline. And I think that's what's key in this game. So when it comes to trading, if you feel so broken after one red day, you have to be very careful with this, because if you have a really big red day, if you really mess up, it could have a bigger psychological effect on you. If you need motivation to come back, I would recommend trying to like relook at your methods, because motivation is not the way to get through life, in my opinion. I think that, and what I believe is that motivation could help you once in a while, but when you're day trading, doing anything like this, if you're pursuing a sport, discipline is worth so much more. Discipline through the losses, discipline through failure, discipline through whatever it takes. Every single day, you just try to research, it becomes a habit. That is what's going to make you more successful than needing motivation on a daily basis. That's something that I learned growing up. You may have a different view, everyone's different, but I personally feel that discipline is worth so much more. And being able to control your emotions through discipline is a very, very big art. All right. So please remember, when you have your next loss, look back at the mistake. And if you need to scale down, make sure you do that. Protect your resources. Your money is your number one resource when you're day trading. Like it's like a video game. Protect it at all costs and manage risks very, very well. All right. So if you have a loss, don't feel too bad. It happens. It happens. I mess up too. It happens to great traders too. Don't let that get the best of you, and do what you have to do, guys. All right. With that being said, I want to just thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day. I'll see you guys very soon on the next one later on. I'll see you guys on Sunday with a more detailed analysis. Take care, do what you have to do, and peace out.